All right, folks. Good morning and welcome to Conservatively Speaking. I'm Joe Mangiacotti sitting in for Mike Wade this morning. Mike's out. He'll be back next week. And here we are. We are, of course, live streaming on the TuneIn app. WCRN is all the time, 24/7, streaming on the TuneIn app. So check it out there. I am actually continuing to stream this on my social media platforms. I changed the logo to Conservatively Speaking, and you're on there. And just a note to those of you who might be listening on either Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch TV, all the places that I'm streaming. When it goes mute, all right, that's when the Eva's Destruction is playing, right? And the problem there is we have the license and we pay to air that on the terrestrial radio station, but not on the streaming. So I got to mute it when that song's on so that YouTube and Facebook doesn't take the video down. That's what's going on there. So if you're listening there, every time you hear a commercial song, I'm going to have to mute the mic or try to remember to do that, folks. And there's nothing wrong with the stream. There's nothing wrong with the audio. That's purposefully done. All right, so we got that out of the way. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. We're here until 9 o'clock. Peter Blute comes in at 9 a.m. for the Peter Blute Show, and you take it from there. All right, we're going to just kind of continue with what we were talking about. You may not have been here early. You might be just joining us, but during my show, I had gotten onto the Matthew McConaughey going to the White House. They turned the podium over to him, which is pretty cool. I'd like to know how you sign up for that. I wouldn't mind lecturing you from the White House podium. That would be pretty cool. My point with him is I like him as a person, I think. I know everything that I can tell. He's a pretty good guy, family man, good actor, right? Has some great movies under his belt. He did kind of allude or even said he was going to run for governor a little while ago, and then that came off the table. And then he's at the White House speaking to everybody. So you draw your own conclusions from there, whatever you want. My point being is that I'm not in the habit of taking my moral compass or my belief systems from an actor. That's not their purpose in my life. Their purpose in my life is to act or to sing or whatever. And people like Dolly Parton and I'm trying to who else. Dolly Parton is a good example of someone who understands that what she does is in fact sing, and she has no interest in bringing politics into it. And she has said, why would I alienate half of my fan base? They didn't come to listen to me talk about politics. They came for me to sing. And that's where we got the Barbara Streisand effect, where in the middle of her concert, which she hadn't done for many, many years, first one in many years, she starts going after George Bush. And people walked out. People wanted their money back, and I get that. And that's not what they're there for. But anyway, my concern was the discussion around red flag laws. The problem with the red flag laws let's make sure we understand something. There are red flags, and then there's red flag laws. And red flags are those things that every time something happens, one of these horrific shootings takes place, we look back and we're like, well, why didn't somebody do something here? Why didn't somebody do something there? This Texas kid, he was in a chat room He literally told people that he was going to shoot his grandmother, and now he was on his way to a school. And nobody in the chat room lifted a finger. Nobody had any whatsoever actions to notify the authorities, to report it to nothing. So there are red flags, and we always find them after. So the question becomes, well, how do we go after those? How do we know those? How do we monitor those? Now I have to ask you, what did I just say when we came on there, right? The commercial, if there's a commercial song on the streaming part, I got to mute it. Well, maybe that's easy enough because they with voice recognition and just recognition, they can actually set computers and algorithms to listen for that, and as soon as they hear it, it can automatically block it. But look at the number of usually conservatives or anybody, because it doesn't have to be conservative, right? Joe Rogan. If you back a couple of years over these couple of years, 3 years now, if you said anything that the internet companies or their masters didn't like, they would delete your account, freeze your account, flag your account, shadow ban you. So they clearly have the ability and the technology to monitor. Yet when people are putting threats out there, it goes through. But we have the Ayatollah has a Twitter account, but Donald Trump doesn't. So how do we monitor this? Now, this proposition of red flags, what's the real reason behind that? And most of these propositions for the red flag laws, totally circumventing the, little thing called probable cause and going in front of a judge and asking for permission before you knock on the door and confiscate the guns. And so my questions on the red flag laws, folks, is how do they work? What constitutes a report? How low or high is the threshold that has to be met for a team of officers, ATF, FBI, or whatever the authority is going to be showing up at your home? And they're showing up at your home, and don't let them fool you when they ask you, do you have any guns or own any guns? They know the answer. Don't think for a moment that they don't know the answer. Because there's a little blue card that you fill out when you buy a weapon. And part of this legislation they're talking about is recording the private sales, and they want the background checks on private sales. So when dad decides the junior is ready for his own gun, he gifts it to him. My first gun was a beautiful 22 rifle with the scope and the whole bit that dad gave me. Now, back in those days, I was allowed to shoot down at the range. My father was a police officer, and we would go down. There was an outdoor range. It was behind the Douse Apple Orchard in Sherburne, Mass. And we would go down, and I was young, nowhere near legal age, but when with dad and his fellow police officers, they let you, and everybody does. You can shoot a gun in a range with your dad there. I don't know what the law is now, but point is, when it was time, dad handed his 22 rifle off to his son, and that happens across. Now, what they want you to have to do now is fill out a form for these private sales for the background check among that. This is creating a database. But folks, we got to take our first break for conservatively speaking. So,
Joe, we can keep going if you want.
we can. All right. Well, we're going to keep going. Producer says we can keep going. We'll do that. So this is creating a database. And why do they want such an accurate database? Because at some point down the road, there are people in our government, and there are people who are contributors to our government, for lack of a better way of putting it, who intend on rounding up the guns. And they want to know exactly who has what. So when they do show up at your home, make no mistake, they know exactly what you own. They know exactly what they expect to find there or to find in your control. Okay? So that is a concern of all this legislation. And then also they're talking about, and Matthew brought this up, raising the age. Guys, this is in tell me if I'm wrong, or what do you think on this? 508-871-7000. Again, you're dealing with the wrong issue. It's not the gun, it is the person. It's the person. Because you're telling, by saying, oh, this kid did this and he's 18 and we got to raise the thing. Well, you're taking all the rights and all the life that was to be led by other 18-year-olds away from them for no fault of their own. And young men and young women have been getting rifles and shooting rifles in their teens forever. I said this before, you go back not that long ago. Shooting, NRA would be in the schools, and that was part of extracurricular activity. You'd shoot at school. They taught you how to shoot rifles and in target and gun safety in school in the 50s and into the 60s. Young men and women would carry their rifle to school with them for a shooting day. So it's not, don't condemn and indict every 18-year-old. There are a lot of 18-year-olds who are mature and responsible. Now, this might have something to do with the age we live in today. Right? We have seen the left redefine adulthood or adulting. I don't know why that word bothers me. Adulting doesn't. It's like Latinx. Somebody decided to inject this new word into the vocabulary of our consciousness here, and it's ridiculous. I just adulting. And you see these millennials or Gen Z and X making these posts and saying, I paid my cable bill today. Hashtag adulting. Seriously? So 18-year-olds are not all mentally disturbed, deranged, or animals. There are a lot of 18-year-olds that are going off into the service. Where were you? Because most of my audience is a certain generation. And a very different generation. Like I said, we've had the left redefining what adult is. We had Barack Obama saying that, well, kids, they're not really ready to be on their own. They should be on your health insurance until you're 27. When do they leave and become their own people? 27. Right, my parents' generation, I think my father was on his third house and fourth child by the time he was 27. Things were different. What were you doing at 18? Did you have the maturity and responsibility? At 18, I actually, on the gun front of it, I actually had a permit to carry Now, back in those days, it was called protection of life and property. Today, your license will read for lawful purposes. And they also had caliber. So I had a protection of life and property with a large caliber rating at 18. And this was in Natick, where I grew up. In the chief then, John Arena, had me in his office, and he explained to me that in 21 years as the chief of police, he has never issued a license to carry for protection of life and property. Now, there were three things. Excuse me while I have some water. There were three licenses, right? Protection of life and property, target, and collecting. So your license would denote these. And if you had it for target, technically, legally, you're only able to carry a gun from home to a range for target shooting or competition shooting. And the collectible one was pretty self explanatory, don't you think? And he told me he was going to give me it for target. And in my mind, I'm kind of formulating the response that I'm going to say, in essence, Chief, thank you, but no thank you, because it's actually harder to switch the license. But the short of it is, he finally said to me, I am going to give you a permit to carry a concealed weapon for protection of life and property. And then he went on and lectured me about this being the first time he's ever done that in 21 years as chief, and what he would do to me if I was to embarrass him. So I was 18 years old with a permit to carry. I graduated high school early, and while I was a senior, I went to real estate school at night. So when I graduated, I had to wait until that summer to take the exam and pass it and get my real estate license. So as an 18-year-old, not only did I have a permit to carry, but I was working in real estate. And some of you might remember this, the old Coldwell Banker. It was part of the Sears Financial Network. Remember this back in the 80s? They put a Dean Witter and Coldwell Banker in these kiosks in the middle of the store. To the right was like paint and hardware, and to the left was menswear. And I'm 18 years old. I don't know if this is stupid. Right? How do I never worked in a real estate office? All right, we had a little. This was before the internet. Al Gore hadn't invented it yet. This is 1984. There, we had what they call bulletin boards and stuff. So my point is, every 18-year-old is different. I had a license to carry. I was working for the largest real estate company in the country at the time. And actually, that year, for Massachusetts, I was top producing dollar volume. Yeah, they were giving me an award at 19 years old. So not every 18-year-old is a schmuck. You can't judge all people because the isolated, infrequent incidences. You're taking that other 18-year-old's rights away and so forth. You've got to concentrate on what is wrong with the person who does the crime. What is going on there? 508-871-7000. What say you? 508-871-7000. During the conversation, I'm Joe Mangiacotti, sitting in for Mike Wade. Mike will be back next Sunday morning. He's just out today and asked me just to continue on and stick with him. Of course, I said no problem whatsoever. Let's go to the phones. Richard, good morning, sir. What say you?
Hey, good morning, Joe. Good morning, Joe. Yeah, hey, I was wondering, did you hear Friday? I believe it was on Tucker. They were saying that there's some sounds that are coming way out of space. Did you happen to hear that?
No, but I'm interested. Who was on with
Okay,
them?
well, I was Tucker.
No, but who was the guest?
He had some kind of professor that he's into astrological stuff, different things like that. But the thing is, right? They said that like China, I guess they got a whole bunch of listening stations.
Yep.
And they were listening, and they said that one of the stations they're probably able to make out a couple of words. and they said Biden sucks.
That was the setup.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to make jokes. I started making jokes when I was like 15, 16 years old. I used to send them to Playboy, but they never sent me any money because I guess I was too young.
Funny.
But anyways, yeah, the thing that we have to talk about here is, we all know what's going on here. The Dems, for the New World Order crowd and all that kind of stuff. They want our guns.
Mm-hmm.
No ifs, ands, what's the buts about it. They want our guns because as long as there's what
Davis, right? Davos
that,
or Davis. Davis, the Klausberg there. That's one of right. He's standing up there, man. What's he saying? We are the leaders. We are the elite, and this is how we got to control the masses. And they got to disarm us. And then they're talking about they're so
exactly.
happy that they're bragging about the technology that they're going to be able to get us, right? They're going to try to convince us that this is a wonderful thing we want to record our carbon footprint. So they're going to be
Yeah,
able to attach to our phones and to us so that not only can they GPS us to the to within a foot of where we are, but how fast we're going, what we're buying, what food you are eating, right? And what you spend your money on. So you gotta again. I always
right.
tell people, Richard, what do I say? You gotta go take the 30,000-foot view of down, the bird's eye view, and look at all these little things that independently by itself doesn't seem horrible and kind of can be, spun. But when you start saying why all at the same time, there's this push from the federal government to go to digital currency, this thing about going into your bank account without a warrant or probable cause to anybody with $600 that moves through their account in a year. Farmland being bought up. By the way, China is buying the majority of our farmland in our country. So when you look at it, they're going after the guns, the control of the money, obviously the health
Yeah.
care, and now the food. Why?
Well, see, the thing is, too, Joe, a lot of people who get a certain vaccine, I don't know which one it is, but they had little medical particles in it. I mean, metal particles in it. And with artificial intelligence that they have now, they can track us right now. They can track us whatever we are, and they know exactly what we're doing at all times. And what's even worse than that now, I mean, a lot of people don't realize this, but if you have one of those smart meters, they can tell if you're having a toast. They can tell if you're flushing
Okay.
your toilet. They can
Now,
tell if
Richard,
you're opening.
let's pause
Yes,
this because there's going to be a lot of listeners who just went by them. But actually, if you back
yeah,
up a few years ago, because we talked about this on this show,
yes,
conservatively speaking,
yeah,
Mike Wade and I did, as well as other hosts. When they were, remember, it might have happened to your house. They wanted to install what they called the smart meters. These are the
yeah,
water meters, guys. But this was a smart meter that could tell when you were showering, how much water we're using, how many people were in the house. Right? This was a very easy way for them to ascertain. And there's actually some cases where investigators, the marshals, right, who go after fugitives, what they would
yeah,
do is they would take your circle of friends. So say you broke out or you went on the run, Richard, right? And I was the
yeah, right,
marshal going after you. I would take your sphere of influence, your circle of people, and with those smart meters, I would have them monitored because if your buddy lives alone and there are 2 showers every morning, or the water
yeah,
consumption has gone up, clearly someone else is living in your house. And you'd
exactly.
go to the top of the thing because we would go then and check it out because we're thinking you're held up at your buddy's house. This is how some investigations are done. This is how they're using the technology. Now I brought up the other day, and I don't know if you caught this, Richard, but when they did the 2020 census, and it took longer this time. If a lot of people noticed it took longer for the results, but didn't understand why. This year, or not this year, 22, but this census in 20, the takers had to go to the front door of everybody's home and they had a gadget with them, their GPS and mapping. And when they got there, they had to hit it and mark your exact front door location. Why? Obviously, they have your address because the census taker got there, right? So why do they need a database of the exact pinpoint location of your front door? Why did they do that? What is the reason for that? I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you something that's even better than that.
Oh,
I like that.
Hey, Richard.
I like to get after
Richard,
them.
you can hold on. I just realized we're against the clock. We got about 20 seconds. You're
Okay.
welcome to hold on, folks, but we're going to take a break here. We'll be back on the other side as we continue with Conservatively Speaking on AM 830 WCRN. Joe Mangiacotti sitting in.
WCRN.
Good morning and welcome to Case Files from the LPDAM, where we take a look for lessons from actual cases, the law behind the findings, and where we share the experiences of the experts of the Private Detectives Association of Massachusetts. Joining us this week is Sean Burke, current president of LPDAM and resident manager of Social Justice Advocacy Project and author of industry-related books. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Joe.
How you doing? Good to be back behind the microphone. Summer is right here at the threshold of it. And actually, believe it or not, what I'm thinking about is digital world. The digital world is part of everyone's life today. How does that fit in to the private investigative world, though?
Joe, you are right when you say the digital world is part of our everyday lives, and it can capture a wealth of true information about us all. There is no getting around it. The private investigative industry has evolved into digital forensic businesses that gather and analyze data to help formulate the truth on a specific matter. LPDM members are all good at this. Several of our member businesses actually have digital forensic labs that are capable of extracting everything and anything from a digital source, like a cell phone or a computer. They are also capable of identifying where something is being sent from, like an IP address, which identifies a sole source. Like a fingerprint, it belongs to one person.
Wow, Sean, that is impressive stuff. What goes into a digital forensic lab?
Joe, it's a major investment on the behalf of a private investigative business. There is a lot of training that goes into being certified or capable of doing digital forensics effectively. A serious investigator must be invested in their business and industry. For example, a simple sign of this is being an LPDM member, which requires both. This world has a wide net of services, so an investigator should define their forensic lab's purpose. This helps the consumer to know what product that they are going to get, what those expectations are, Joe. These are software-heavy business models. Let's face it, if your spouse is cheating, it is probably on their cell phone. We can even get deleted items from the device. It is a powerful method when facts, not opinions, are important.
Wow. So to be clear, if you want a cell phone extraction, it can only be done by a licensed private investigator. And can those results be used in court?
Joe, to be able to use any data in court, you must know its source for credibility purposes. This is exactly why you use a Massachusetts licensed private investigator. The best PI businesses are LPDM members. They are vetted and invested. Remember, you're in good hands with LPDM.
You certainly are. Well, thanks for joining us for Case Files, Sean.
Thank you, Joe.
And thank you for joining us for Case Files from the LPDAM. And join us here each Sunday morning on WCRN 8:30 a.m. and anytime online at lpdamcasefiles.com. And of course, you can visit the site directly at lpdam.org. Find us on social media, that's Facebook and Twitter at PI and Mass, and call anytime, toll-free, 800-955-6274. For Sean, I'm Joe Mangiacotti.
You're on your way home and you get the call. We need milk. And how about some snacks to watch TV tonight? Where do you go? No matter where you are in Central Mass or Metro West, you can find what you need at a Yetco Food Mart. Not to mention great gas prices. You can fill up the gas tank and get all your snack needs as well as milk and all at competitive prices that won't empty the wallet. Yetco Food Mart, serving you best for over 25 years. Yetco.
Dr. Satya Mitra has journeyed from a childhood of poverty and homelessness to a successful career as a financial advisor, motivational speaker, and community leader. Now inspired by his guru, he uses his experiences to positively affect the lives of underprivileged people. We strive to house our blindness, poverty, homelessness, female empowerment, and good citizenship initiatives within the Joy Guru Humanitarian Center. If you wish to contribute or know of deserving persons or initiatives that could use our assistance, please contact us at 508 641-8441.
Hi, this is Jerry Doherty, host of Making Money Last, heard weekdays 11 to noon right here on WCRN. You know, I'm always interested in learning why retirees choose to work with my firm, Boston Independence Group. So I asked my clients, and they told me two main things. First, I'm not trying to be all things to all people. And second, I'm specialized, focused solely on retirement planning. You see, we're distinguished from other financial firms in that we do one thing, and we do it exceptionally well. We help people live better in retirement. That's it. So if you're close to retiring or have recently retired, we can do for you what we've done for hundreds of other retirees throughout New England. Live better in retirement. And if you'd like to live better in retirement, give us a call and we'll show you how. My toll-free number is 877-772-1776. Again, that's 877-772-1776. And you can visit us on the web at bostonindependencegroup.com.
You're listening to Conservatively Speaking on Full Service Radio 830 WCRN. Once again, here's your host, Mike Wade.
All right. All right, folks. Welcome back to the second half of the first hour of the Sunday edition of Conservatively Speaking. I'm Joe Mangiacotti sitting in for Mike Wade. Mike will be back next week. Peter Blute in at 9 o'clock for the Peter Blute Show. Jerry Doherty at 9:30. That is your Sunday morning talk block. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. For those who are listening or watching the stream of the show, remember that when it goes silent, I am muting any commercial song we don't have the license to. Nothing's wrong with the feed. That's purposely being done. All right, before we went into the break, Richard was online with us, and we were chatting. Richard, let's pick that up. I know we kind of got I got sidetracked a little bit, but what was it that you really wanted to talk about?
All right. Well, first of all, I want to talk about the biggest spy in the house, and that's Alexa. Because I asked Alexa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Alexa.
the Prime thing.
That little machine there that you. I have the hockey puck. I didn't go out and spend no couple $100 bucks.
Okay. So that's that little circle thing, right? About 3-4 inches.
Yeah.
Okay. I was gifted one of those, and it's in the drawer, and it's never going to be connected to my house. I'll just never.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm talking to you and mentioned her name, but she came on. Hang on.
I saw somebody post a video that they had the two of them, and they said Alexa to one, and they set it up so the other one could hear it, and it just kept talking.
Yeah.
So it got into this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's I mean, they say it only activates when you say Alexa, but the point is it has to be listening to hear you say Alexa, right? So guys, just put a microphone in your house. Not that you don't already have one on your body.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. She's a squealer. I asked her, I says, Alexa,
she's a rat.
I says, where do I live? And she told me where I lived. And I asked her, I says, all the information that you get from me, I said, where does it go to? And she said, it goes to the cloud. So if it goes to the cloud, Joe, everybody out there can grab your information and pull it down. You got to be careful with her.
Yeah, I agree.
But but do you have time to talk about the Constitution a little bit?
We can talk about the Constitution.
Or do you get somebody?
Nope. You're the only one on the line, and we've got a couple of minutes to break. So go ahead. What did you want to bring up?
Okay. First of all, I said a long time ago, and I said it to you, and I said it to other talk shows. The Constitution of the United States, Joe, doesn't apply to you, me, or anybody else out there who's a citizen. All right. And it only pertains to, Congress. And Congress only has authority to do what the Constitution says. They can't make it up. They can't take it down because what they have there. All these amendments are internal amendments. They cannot be changed at all. Okay? So whatever is in the Constitution, Congress has to comply with. Okay? You and I and all the other listeners out there, my Constitution is actually the Constitution of New Hampshire. And what they did with that back in 1968, Joe, they put it in the closet. It's still there, Joe, my Constitution. But what they did in '68, they came out with the Constitution of the state of New Hampshire, small s, okay? And what that is, Joe, and all the states, Massachusetts, Connecticut, all right, they're all administrative constitutions with external amendments. In other words, they can change it anytime they want, whenever they want. But the Constitution of the United States, Congress cannot change at all. They have to comply with it because those are internal amendments, Joe. They can't change those. So when you see, like a 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 15th, all the way up, if, like I said, if you ever read to the bottom, they're all articles. They can be changed by Congress anytime they want because they only pertain to Washington, D.C., which is a federal area deemed to be in control by Congress, Joe. That's it. People have to learn this. Even Mark Levin, I listened to him I had to stop listening to him. I'm telling you. I said, if he knows the Constitution, then he's pretty stupid. It's unbelievable what's going on out there, Joe, with these attorneys. They don't know anything.
The point you're making is when we talk, are you trying to say that when we talk about these constitutional amendments, that's not really how they're done?
No. Well,
No,
see, the thing is, all these.
No, that's not how they're done. What are you saying no to?
No. What it is when Congress made all of these, the 13th, the 14th, the 15th, and the 16th, all those amendments that they call amendments, they're not amendments, they're articles.
Right.
In other words, these things can be changed by Congress, okay? Because they're external. They can be changed. The 12 amendments to the Constitution are internal. They cannot be changed. So when they say they're coming after the First Amendment, they can't. They can't do it. They have no authority. They're bound by the internal amendments of the Constitution. So when they say they're coming after the Second Amendment to come for our guns, they can't do it. I don't care what they do. And even if they did do that,
Richard,
that means that...
Richard, pause for a second, because I agree there. Every time, we got Francis O'Rourke, right, talking about this. And by the way, did you see the flip-flop, right? Because back in 18, when he was out there, he was saying, hell yeah, we're coming for your AR-15s. And Joe Biden on the campaign trail a couple of years ago, yeah, you're my guy, right? You're going to go. And he literally was talking about going door to door to get these guns. And now he wants to run for governor of Texas. And he says the other day that he's a protector of the Second Amendment. I mean, the guy is so full of it and lied. But the point is, whenever these politicians start saying it, or you've got these, intellectual giants on The View who are starting to talk about, Whoopi Goldberg, I want that gun. And what are you talking? You have no concept of where you live. You have no concept of the Second Amendment. It's not how it works. You just can't do that, folks. So I agree 100%. But you're saying, because the common understanding here, Richard, is that there's the Constitution, but the Constitution can be overridden with a certain number of states and ratified. But you're saying that's not how it really works. Am I hearing you right?
No, that's not how it works. The only way that Congress could actually change the Constitution is impossible. They can't do it. Those are internal. In other words, Congress cannot change a word.
Richard, you gotta define for the listeners when you say they're internal. People are thinking, listening to you, going, "What the hell is he talking about? What do you mean internal? Internal to who?
Internal. All right. The internal amendments are 1 through 12. Period. They can't change those. The ones that Congress can change at will is the 13th, the 14th, the 15th, because they're not internal amendments. What they are is they're all articles. Articles can be changed at will. That's why Congress, whenever they want to do something, they can only do it with the 13th, 14th article. That's it, Joe. They can't do anything else. As far as the Constitution, it's in stone. Period. They can't change it at all. Okay. So when they say they're coming after our guns, they can't do it. Because if they tried that, that means that General Motors and Ford and all them, they would all be liable for all of 50,000 people that they kill every year on the road. There'd be no end to this, Joe.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? With this whole stupid, with the other thing, right? That it was a Biden who was talking about lifting the immunity clause and being able to. First of all, that just has no common sense to it. I don't even understand the thought process. But I got to tell you what, we are about 20 seconds away from the break here, Richard. So I got to hold you here unless there's something.
All right.
You can hold
All
on.
right.
If
You have
there's
a great
something
rest
else.
of the day.
All right, awesome. All right, folks.
Oh, okay. I'll let you go, Joe.
Joe, you
Take
can
care.
keep going. We're going half
Bye.
hour on the show.
I'm sorry. What was that? Oh, we're not.
We're doing half hour segments for this.
Got it. Here I am. I'm operating under my clock, Shane. Thank you very much. All right. So we're
Richard
gonna.
can stay.
What was that?
I said Richard can stay if
Well,
you'd like.
Richard, you can stay if you like. I think I heard you hang up though. All right, folks. 508-871-7000 to join the
Yeah, he's got it.
conversation. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. This is Conservatively Speaking, but Mike is out. He'll be back next Sunday, so I'm sitting until 9 o'clock when Peter Blute takes over the pilot's chair here, and we continue. So my point is, folks, red flag laws, I'd like to know exactly what it is you think those are. No. The red flag laws, first of all, they have a lot of potential to be weaponized, and other pieces of legislation have been weaponized. And one of the first things I learned in one of the very first law classes I ever took was the law is to be used as a shield, not a sword, and that's very simple. That's what it's there. The laws are to protect us, to make sure that the playing field is even and that you're not losing your rights or you're targeted or anything of that nature. But it's not there to use as a sword, meaning it's not there for you to manipulate, to inflict harm, or to pressure or coerce anybody into anything. It's not a sword. And I wouldn't want to see any red flag laws being weaponized, meaning that what exactly do they say? What if there's an internal family issue and they just, perfect example I got in my family. I've talked about this before. I've shared that I have a really snowflake younger sister who's just, as a matter of fact, she is a Karen. Literally, that's her name, right? So I think they came up with the Karen modeled after her because she's a Karen 100%. And what do these red flags say? Right? She's totally opposite of political standing, her and I. She doesn't think anybody should have a gun and so forth. So what are they allowed to do under these red flag laws? Could a family member call up and say, I don't think my sister or brother is stable and they shouldn't have a gun? On that alone, is that enough for the authorities to come and confiscate your weapons? Because in every version that I've seen printed in articles and so forth on the red flag laws, nowhere is it saying that there has to be a hearing first, that there's got to go and argue in front of a judge. Now, everything else, right, you've got to get a warrant for if they want to come take your computers, say you're suspected in financial crimes or even child pornography. They got to show some kind of evidence to a judge, enough to convince him or her that we need to see that. Go confiscate the towers, laptops, hard drives, anything you can find, all electronic. And in those warrants, they're spelled out. Not just a couple things are spelled out in warrant. Where you're allowed to look. And there's cases that get messed up because the applying law enforcement agency didn't say the adjacent barn or forgot to put, say it's an apartment in a building. They didn't include in the warrant that they could check the common storage area in the basement. And then they can't. If it's not in the warrant and they find something there, well, as far as the law is concerned, you didn't have a warrant to search that area. So now we have fruit of the tree. Anything obtained illegally without a warrant, probable cause, cannot be admissible, and anything coming from that search, that illegal search, by the way, folks, is also thrown out. It's called the fruit of the poisonous tree. You can't do that. But also what it is you're looking for. So if you're looking for an AR-15 that was used in a crime, those law officials, right, the police, FBI, whatever agencies there, based on that warrant, they're not allowed to go through your papers, or they're not allowed to look into a little drawer in your desk because you can't conceal an AR-15 in that little drawer. You see what I'm saying? Follow that along. So it's very spelled out where you're allowed to look. You have to say what you're looking for, because that will dictate where you're allowed to look. That isn't, in other words, the judge isn't saying you can have a complete and total fishing expedition and you can look in every nook and cranny you want. No, you can only look where someone concealed the item you're searching for. So is this red flag law, are you circumventing that entire process? If somebody says, I don't think this person should have a gun, is that a personal opinion? Is that because you're anti-gun, period? Or are you trying to get at that person? So red flag laws, on the face of it, is good, in the sense that if there's something there. But that's got to be what we were talking about earlier. You're in a chat room, and you say, I'm going to commit this crime. Based on that, somebody should be able to contact the authorities. They take that information, just like you would in any other law enforcement situation, right? A tip. Most warrants that are being applied for, they come from one or two major areas. During the course of the investigation, they realize they need to get a better look at your home, your business, your computers, what have you. Or it comes from a CI, a confidential informant, or even a good citizen, which Sussman was allegedly pretending to be, telling the FBI, I have no client, I'm not working for anybody, I'm just a great American citizen who has information you need to know. All right, put a pin in that. So based on that is a red flag. I get that, but that kind of already happens, doesn't it? That's already in place. So I have apprehensions and I have concerns about blanket red flag laws, and that's another way to chip away at our constitutional rights and taking more away. And like I said, I have seen in 6 years in the private investigation industry, you wouldn't believe the stories I could tell you of spousal fighting and divorces that get nasty, internal stripes in families, and the lengths that they've gone to hurt the people they supposedly love the most. It's crazy. I would be very apprehensive, very cautious about how these red flag laws work. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, sitting in for Mike Wade. And forgive me, every once in a while, my mouth gets dry. You get to take a little water. So if you hear that, my apologies to you there. 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Joe has been waiting patiently. Joe, good morning, sir. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Joe, and thank you for taking my call. You mentioned the red flag laws you've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Many of our violent incidents that have taken place in our country, they've been tipped off. They've either fell through the cracks or they just didn't take their threats seriously. So now we're going to rely on red flag laws when, they've been ignoring bits and pieces of red flags when it comes to these mass
Joe, 100%,
mass killings.
Right? That's exactly what I was just saying. That we already have basically, if you see somebody post something a little fishy, you already have the option to call in the police, and then the police take that, run with it. If there's enough there, they go to a judge and says, Your Honor, look at this, this, and this. We need to go have a talk and really look around this person's house. And if you convince the judge, he says or she says, and they sign off. But I'm concerned that this new proposition, Joe, is just going to allow people to drop dimes and, impose.
Get the process going.
Impose their
Begin the
personal
process.
views.
It's something to start the process where you're already considered guilty before you can prove yourself innocent. You're already guilty enough to say you don't deserve a gun because there's one little piece of you that we don't agree with. Whether it could be even your politics, where they're trying to make everybody that's a conservative a terrorist.
That's right. And then again, you got the members there of the Algonquin Roundtable on The View saying that the Republican Party has got to go. That Sunny chick was on the other day, and she's like, and she wasn't prepared for this argument. She's like, Republicans, they got to go. They're racist and they're mean and she's like totally lost in her point, other than I agree with you, Whoopi, the Republican Party has got to go. And they don't even know what the hell they're talking about. And
they just replay the rhetoric. It's almost like each one of these radical Democrats have a tape inside their head where when they don't know what to say, they just spout off it's on a loop.
They just keep playing. It's like, there's actually somebody just sent me, the Minions from the movie and stuff.
Yes.
All right. So I like the Minions. So a friend of mine just sent me a couple of these Minions. I ordered it on Amazon, sent it to me because they know. But I got the little thingies here, and you push them down, and then they do their little talk, or they sing or whatever. And I'm thinking that's it. So whether it's Joy Bear or whatever, you just kind of give them a little push, and then the next talking point that's in the queue comes out, and it's just repetitious of what the talking points are, because that they must get downloaded every morning, because all of a sudden every legacy media anchor, every politician, all of a sudden in the same day they're using the same phrase and catchphrase. Have you ever noticed this?
They're focus groups.
Weapons of war, right? That was the key phrase last week. All we heard, everybody, no matter what channel, in what city in the country, what did the anchors all say? Weapons of war. It's like every day they seem to get, whatever they're supposed to twist and have as a talking point that day, and they add it to the loop.
And they call the internet weapons of war now, where surveillance and wiretapping are weapons of war. Well, they've been using that on the American public for some time now. We have to realize that this Biden administration is at war with the American people that do not want to succumb to their whims and their wishes and their dreams of utopia. We don't believe in their utopia. And they're crushing us.
Well, you hit it right there. They don't agree. And we've gone from, when I was a younger guy, everything was about, in politics, it was in universities where this is where you debate and you have exchange. Now our universities are, if you not just if you don't agree with me, then we go our own way. No, if you don't agree with me, and if you don't use the same verbiage I use in the pronouns that I use, you need to be destroyed. It's not enough just to disagree with you. I got to cancel you. You're not allowed to. Now this latest thing, the potato rolls, the Martin's Company potato rolls, now they're getting canceled. You know why? The CEO of Martin's Bakeries made a donation to Donald Trump. They're worse than the mafia. They go after your family, your friends, right? If they don't like you, they
right.
Metaphorically are going to whack everybody in the family. It's
Well,
crazy.
you have to be really big, like a Elon Musk.
Right.
You know,
have
somebody
to
that's
have that much FU money, right? You have to be that wealthy that they can't touch
and that
it.
powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
Joe, I can't control the clock. You're
That's
welcome
okay,
to
Joe.
hold if you want to finish with your points. You're welcome to do that. But
Yeah, I'll hold, Joe.
all
Thank
right,
you.
no problem. You can hold. Folks, we're going to take a break here on Conservatively Speaking. I know I don't sound like Mike Wade. Joe Mangiacotti sitting in for Mike Wade. Back next week. We have one more hour to left before Peter Blute takes over the control panel here. 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. What say you? We'll be back on the other side. Stick with us here on this beautiful Sunday morning, folks.
This is Full Service Radio, AM 830, WCRN, Worcester, Metro West.
I'm Karen McHugh, demanding Congress act. Anti-gun demonstrations were held in Washington and in cities across the nation Saturday.
Thousands of protesters rallying in cities from coast to coast with one message: enough is enough. Saturday's March for Our Lives was inspired by the recent deadly mass shootings in Buffalo, New York, and Uvalde, Texas. Activists say those massacres should compel Congress to pass gun control legislation.
Fox's Ashley Strohmeyer. Averting potential disaster in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho Saturday. Police arrested 31 members of the hate group Patriot Front and charged them with conspiracy to riot near a scheduled Pride event.
It is clear to us, based on the gear that the individuals had all with them, the stuff they had in the possession and the U-Haul with them, along with paperwork that was seized from them, that they came to riot downtown.
Police Chief Lee White. America is listening to Fox News.
Jamie's Log, Progressive, the Harrington's Backyard, day 27, 3:33 a.m. 333. All those threes mean something, or I may be losing it. Been camped in the Harrington's backyard for 27 days now, proving that Progressive has 24/7 protection. They told me every day they understand what 24/7 protection means. Think I'm finally getting through to them. 333.
Progressive doesn't just offer a great price when you bundle home and auto. We offer round-the-clock protection, just not literally from Jamie. Coverage from Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers, and subject to policy terms. Bundle discount not available in all states or situations.
When I grow up, I want to be a ballerina. They can stand on their tippy toes with fancy tutus and twirl around like magical princesses.
If your child is sick over and over again, it could be PI, a serious defect of the immune system. Early testing gives children a chance to dream.
I can't wait to grow up, because then I will leap for the stars.
Jeffrey Modell Foundation, helping children reach for their dreams. Visit info4pi.org.
Welcome to Conservatively Speaking on Full Service Radio 830 WCRN. Now, here's your host, Mike Wade.
All right, folks. Are we playing music, John? Shane? All right, folks, welcome back to the second hour of Conservatively Speaking. Joe Mangiacotti sitting in the chair for Mike Wade this morning. He'll be back next week. Again, 508-871-7000. What say you? And for those of you who are watching or listening via the streaming, the TV, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc., again, when you hear nothing, that's just me muting for the commercial song that we're not allowed to play on the screen. Because if I let it go out, folks, the Facebook and YouTube would actually take that video down. They would delete it, or just you wouldn't be able to hear it. So that's what that is. There's nothing wrong with the equipment. There's nothing wrong with the streaming. That's what's happening there. All right, before the break, we were talking with Joe. And Joe, you had another point you wanted to make, but what you initially said, I agree with you 100%. That everything you
my second point, Joe,
is part of a larger thing, right?
Right. My second point, that really is bothering me and still bothering me is the fiasco known as the census. I'm really perturbed that, you know, states got undercounted and other states got overcounted. I mean, you talk about a theft of a vote. I mean, it's truly aggravating because not this last census, but the census before, I chose not to be part of it. And I gave the census worker a little bit of a hard time talking to them and found out that a lot of the census workers are teachers.
Oh,
So
because it's
that
summer,
explains
right? That would.
right.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
That's been going on for years now. They use teachers to, you know, do the census, and they were crooked. They overcounted the Democrats and undercounted the conservative states.
Yeah, we saw that. We saw that come out, right? New York, which, look, you would have to be living under a rock, Joe, if you had noticed there's a mass exodus from New York. You go down to Florida and you see a ton of New York plates, but you also hear a ton of accents, right? The New York accent. And a matter of fact, wasn't there was a guy that was going around, they were trying to figure out whether or not this was even breaking the law. He had printed up these flyers that said, you know, welcome to Florida. Glad you've come here, but you know, leave your politics in New York
behind. Right?
Don't bring that with us. Texas is also concerned about that. And
how do they get away with that, Joe? How do they get away with stealing representation in boldface? I mean, they're not even denying it.
They overcounted New York so that they didn't want California's losing a seat. And they padded the count there. They padded it in California. They padded it in New York. I think even Massachusetts, right? Didn't they? They also
in Rhode Island, especially
in Rhode Island. So I mean, the thing there is you've got. I just it's so blatant. And again, what's being done about it, and why don't this Attorney General, Joe, right? What is he doing? I mean, other than making a fortune for his son-in-law's publishing company, you've got, and here's another thing, because I haven't really got deep into this part of the Brett Kavanaugh thing is, because it's just connected, but I'm talking the overall demonstrations in front of these justices' homes that are going on. Then they went in front of Amy Coney Barrett, and now they're in front of Clarence Thomas. You notice they're just picking the conservative judges, but the point is, it's already a law that you cannot picket or demonstrate in front of a judge's house. Period. It's on the books. The only reason that you're showing up in this residential neighborhood at night, being loud, is to tell them in the world, we know where you live. And then it's to scare and intimidate them, right? They've done this now to a few judges. We had a judge tortured and murdered in his basement, Joe. And where is the AG? On the law that's already on the books, they should have been in front of Kavanaugh's house, Judge Amy Coney Barrett and Clarence Thomas, and they should have swept every one of those people up and arrested them. There has to be consequences. You're telling the world, and you're telling everybody here, American citizens, don't make a mistake about it, Joe. There is a 2-level justice system. Depending on who you are or who your friends are, the law will be applied one way, and then look what happens to everybody who even had a coffee with Donald Trump at one point. Right.
We even keep political signs away from the line to go into vote because they don't want influence, and yet they're going to let these protesters try to influence the judges. I mean, like I just said, you can't even try to influence me when I'm going to cast my vote. When you can't give me a ball. You can't do anything like that. But yet they'll let these radicals get away with intimidation. Yes.
What about the fact that Schumer stood out there in front of the Supreme Court and threatened justices by name and saying, you've released the whirlwind and you're going to pay. I'm sorry, but he should be asked by a prosecutor or at least deposed and say, what exactly do you mean by that? And why are you threatening a United States Supreme Court justice?
He should have been brought in.
Yeah.
He should have been brought up on some type of commission to answer for his words. Was he summoning his troops?
Well,
was he activating the activists?
Yeah. Well, there you go. Right. And against the backdrop of these January 6th committee hearings going on, where they're trying to say exactly that Trump is responsible for all this. But you understand the end game there. They want to make it so that they can level a felony against him. They want to take him out of the possibility of running in 2024. They are afraid. They are.
Well, they want to do more than that, Joe. That's their main goal. But they also want to strip him of other things like his presidential library and maybe security for the length of his life.
Yeah.
They want to take his, the Secret Service away from him. They want to strip him of every presidential right that he earned when he got elected.
Yeah. Just because
they
don't like him. They don't like him, and he wasn't one of them. And by the way, just as a side note, and Joe, you probably know this, I don't know, but these presidential libraries, folks, those aren't just testaments to that guy's ego. It's actually required. Every president's required to have a library, and everything has to go in it, by the way, Joe. Good and bad. Like the president can't censor and say, that wasn't the best, that wasn't the best moment of my presidency. We're going to leave that. Nope. All of the call logs, all of the correspondence, all of the bills they signed, everything has to go in there for history.
Prosperity.
Yeah, for prosperity. Yep. So it's going to be in there. So anyway, that just as a side note, it's not even an option. But yeah, they really think, I mean, it's amazing what they call, right, Trump derangement syndrome. And the level to which these people are going after him, they set aside all common sense and all law. But if you convince everybody, and if your mind, you're convinced, and I saw a talking head on, I think, CNN the other day, actually said, that Trump was worse than Hitler. First of all, you're an idiot. Second of all, if you actually think that a person, and let's take Trump out of it, it's just a person. If you think that person is worse than Hitler, now, to my knowledge, Trump didn't kill 6 million people of anybody, but if you actually think that, isn't it justified to do whatever you can to them? Doesn't matter. To hell with the law. In other words, if you had the chance in 1938 to cancel Hitler, wouldn't you have done it? So,
well, they think they're more righteous than us, Joe. They think they're more moral than us, and because they say they care, that's enough to make it true. But it isn't.
That's the other part, Joe.
Words are cheap,
right? The other part of this is we're expected to, and we have to believe everything we're told. When we get back to Biden, and the administration or the press tells us, or the press secretary tells us something that Joe is this and Joe is that, they're shocked. They're absolutely shocked that we don't take it. We got to take it at face value. You're not allowed to question them, and they're allowed to rewrite history. Have you noticed this? I mean, they're absolutely done. Just dumbfounded.
Well, when you have the education system in your back pocket and you are able to form these young minds, you're going to rewrite history the way you want it to be rewritten. And what they're doing is they're rewriting, like that gentleman talked about earlier, the Constitution. They're rewriting ideas into the heads of these young people about what the Constitution should or shouldn't be, about the powers that it should or shouldn't have.
Well, the thing on that, Joe, is right, is and I've talked about this before, folks, but the unintended consequences of the schools and more, not really the schools, but the school committee, what are the associations, right? One garden or whatever her name is, and these teachers who were doing their TikToks from Acapulco beaches, and they didn't want to return to the classroom. Yet we were told they had to be the first in line for the vaccinations, and we need billions of dollars to redo the ventilation systems, yada, yada, yada. It's all done, and they still don't want to go back to class. They really like this whole, hey, 45 minutes in the line, and then the kids are supposed to watch YouTube videos and other stuff. Well, the thing is, and I've said this, Joe, they didn't realize, they kind of miscalculated and didn't realize, well, wait a minute, mom and dad are also locked out, right? They're not at work. So little Johnny or Sally's at the dining room table with the computer open and doing their thing, and mom or dad is over at the kitchen counter. And all of a sudden, mom and dad hear what is being taught. They're listening, and they're going, wait a minute, did they just say that? What? And now they start listening. And we got to peek in. Mom and dad got to peek into the school. And to a point, and I don't have it in front of me. I get it on the show. I can't remember what the school committee was. When they found this out, they actually sent the letters out to the parents forbidding them to be in the same room. In other words, they said, you can't monitor the online anymore because the gig is up. Parents got a taste of what's being taught and didn't realize this isn't new, Joe. This started 100 years ago with an experiment out of Ohio with this progressive school teaching stuff. So now we've had, last I read, there's been 1 million children taken out of the public school systems in the last year. Parents are taking back, they're either homeschooling or they're selecting private schools, but in droves, they're getting the kids out of the public school system. And look what happened in Virginia, right? I mean, you had a governor say, it's our responsibility, not the parents' responsibility for in school. What a miscalculation that was, Joe.
Most of our budgets go towards the education of our kids in our small towns and cities. And we are actually paying for something we're never getting, and that's an education for our kids. I mean, most school systems, I imagine, are up over 10, 12, 20 grand in Boston to educate one kid.
Last number I saw for each student was over $35,000. I don't know.
$35,000 per. And what are we getting for our money?
But,
substandard.
If I had a 9-year-old or 12-year-old in school and they're 30, I'd say, you know what? First of all, I want whatever the numbers are, the formulas for calculating my property tax in the town I live in that goes to the school system. I want that taken off my property tax. Or give me the $35,000 and I'll send my child to the schooling of my choice. Right? I mean,
they can't have that because it takes their little program of the earning themselves some ground troops to get out there and protest, or they're using these kids as ground troops to to formulate. Most of the yes, Joe.
It blows my mind, right? Do you remember back when Trump got elected? We had school systems giving, first of all, they were giving him safe space and time off and brought counselors in because he was elected president. And then during his presidency, you had teachers saying that you can go to, or they went as a group to demonstrations, anti-Trump stuff, and it was not considered an absentee. As a matter of fact, you got extra credit for it.
Extra credit for
But
for
if
doing
you
that.
said,
Yep.
I want to go to a mega rally, oh my God, no. So how does that work? Why would we tolerate this in our school systems? Again, they have
because they sheltered themselves, Joe.
Yeah.
They took out the parents. They took the parents' helpers out of the classroom, and because they thought it was another avenue to build up more teachers. And we found out what was going on in the classroom. We always had a notion, but we never really wanted to, think that they would be that vicious or that cruel to our children to try to sway their brains and try to take them away, take our influence away from our children. And that's what it is. They don't believe that we're good enough parents.
Hey, Joe, we got at least one governor out
Yes, sir,
there
Joe.
who is, trying to look at the stuff that Ron DeSantis has been doing, right? With the parents' rights bill down in Florida. This guy, I mean, he is prime presidential material. I hope to see him on the ticket. But Joe, I got
as much as I'd like to see. Yes, sir, Joe. Thank you.
No, finish your thought. As much as you'd like to what?
Oh, as much as I'd like to see Donald Trump get his retribution, I want him. I would like to see him just enjoy the rest of his life, be vindicated for, over the next few years, get vindicated for what they considered he did wrong, and I want Ron DeSantis to take the helm and, straighten our country out. But I do want to see Donald Trump enjoy the rest of his life. I'm sure with all the commissions and they're going to try to put him through until they finally find something.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I know how strong he looks and all that, but you can't. It has to take a toll on you. I don't care who you are. When you are attacked from every angle, everybody that is in your circle is being arrested or investigated just because they're your friend. The name calling, the threats, it's got to take a toll on it, and it's
jailing.
Oh,
the jailing of people.
Yeah.
I mean, we are definitely third world. We've arrived. We're definitely third world, Joe.
All right, Joe, I'm going to let you go here. Thank
you
so
Joe.
much for the call. Always
great show.
Input. Thank you, man. 508-871-7000. What say you? 508-871-7000. But like I was saying, Ron DeSantis is really, what a effective, common sense for the people guy, right? This guy, he's the veteran. He's well educated, well read, and this is the thing, right? This guy, he didn't follow the Fauci line of the day or the CDC. The guy read up on what is happening, and he handled the state during the pandemic how he best saw fit, knowing actually that the fact is he's Florida. He's basically God's waiting room. The population there is the average age is pretty high. He knows that he has a huge part of his constituency are very much in the danger zone here, right? So he just, a couple weeks after that shooting, on Tuesday, DeSantis signed a bill that would require mental health crisis intervention training for the on-campus police officers. So these, what they call the resource officers is the term, right, that they're calling police officers assigned to the school. So this is the measure would make other school safety changes as well, including giving the State Board of Education rulemaking authority over emergency drills. Because one of the things that came out, right, in Uvalde is within 2 weeks of the incident, they did training in a drill exactly for what happened. They went around to all the businesses and said, hey, you're going to see SWAT trucks and police officers in full body protection and guns and helmets. Don't panic. We're doing a drill. Nothing's going on. So he's taking it out of the public safety, giving it to the school board to be able to be over those drills in that safety. It's called HB 1421. And this is, the guy is proactive on this stuff. Okay. He's proactive on it. And I do want to talk a little bit more about how they handled the coverage there couple of the things we got to get to before Peter Blue comes in. 508-871-7000. What say you? Let me go to the phones. John has been waiting patiently to join us. And John, you want to talk about school shootings, gun laws? What say you?
Hi, Joe. Yeah, I just had just a quick thought about the Democrats and the school shootings, how they won't take any like common sense things about hardening these targets, bringing in security guards, and because things that would deter someone from trying to do this. Because I believe, people will disagree. If they could have a school shooting every single day of the week, they would be for that, because they want it. It's not about the kids. People think it's about taking people's guns away. That is the bottom line. Yep. They only want to take away the guns. They don't care about kids. They proved that with COVID. Did they care about the kids with COVID? No, that's not what I see. The Democrats, everything that comes out of their mouth is a lie. That you cannot trust them as far as you can throw them. I just pray to God that Trump gets back in office and straightens. I hope people's eyes are opening to what Democrats are about. They are poison to this country. They're not the Democrats. They are the Communist Party. And if people don't wake up pretty soon, we're going to lose the country.
John, the key word, right? What did the phrase they wanted us to use is democratic communism, right? They wanted that somehow that's different. Look at folks, if the word communism is in there, it's communism. Whatever, however you try to dress it up, lipstick on a pig doesn't change it. It's still a pig. So the point is, how do you want to dress it up? Communism. It's responsible for, the concept of it is responsible, or the implementation of it is responsible for millions of deaths. And now you have these universities and even regular schools to 12th grade trying to show the children the benefits of communism. And on paper, right, if you're a young, impressionable person trying to learn everything you can and soak it up as a sponge, John, doesn't it sound nice?
Right.
Isn't that cool? Hey, everybody's fair and everybody gets everything. But what they're not talking about is the elitists who control everything. And if you're not one of them, they control what you drive, what you eat, where you live, what you do for work. Right, decide how much health care you're going to get, if at any. So, no, communism is great if you're living in the presidential palace. Other than that, if you're not part of the inner circle, John, not so good.
That's the problem. We lost the public schools. When I was in school in the 4th grade, I can remember the first time a teacher talking about communism. He wasn't talking about it in glowing terms. He said it takes away the competitive spirit of people.
There you go.
And it makes people not want to work. Why am I going to work hard if this guy is going to do nothing and we're going to get paid the same amount?
Exactly.
It doesn't work.
And that's the thing, right? And instead of being in a world where everybody's trying to do the best they can and outdo you, right? Communism doesn't work that way. You and I work in the same factory or office. We go in. My goal here isn't to do the best I can to show you up and get you, to come up to me. No, it's okay. How little can I do? Because look, no matter what, we all get the same thing. And there's no recognition that incentives gone in capitalism rewards us. And I've always said this about even the argument when people talk about oh my God, $40 million for a sports figure. As much as I think that's ludicrous, I'm consistent in my belief, John. You should be able to take whatever talent you have as far and as long as you can possibly do it. So if you are
Exactly. You got to let the market decide.
The market decide. You got it 100%. Capitalism has lifted more people out of poverty than any other system on the planet. And look at right now in the United States, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, these guys weren't born into these, privileged lives. And they were able to become the president of the United States. What other country is that going to happen in?
Exactly. These people like Ilhan Omar,
John,
their mind is so backwards.
John, I got to hold you. You're welcome to hold on, but it's a clock. I can't control it. We got to take our 8:30 break.
I have to go, Joe.
No problem, John. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it a lot. All right, Joe Mangiacotti sitting in for Mike Wade. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back for the final half hour of this week's edition of Conservatively Speaking on AM 830 WCRN. Stick with us.
You've been listening to Conservatively Speaking on Full Service Radio 830 WCRN.
WACE Chicopee and WCRN Worcester.
You're on your way home and you get the call. We need milk. And how about some snacks to watch TV tonight? Where do you go? No matter where you are in Central Mass or Metro West, you can find what you need at a Yatco Food Mart. Not to mention great gas prices. You can fill up the gas tank and get all your snack needs as well as milk and all at competitive prices. That won't empty the wallet. Yatco Food Mart, serving you best for over 25 years. Yetco.
The Band's Visit is the Tony and Grammy Award-winning Best Musical.
Let me tell you about Petah Tikva. Such a city, everybody loves it.
The Washington Post cheers. It's a funny fish-out-of-water comedy with offbeat charm. The 10-time Tony Award-winning Best Musical, The Band's Visit.
Welcome to Norway.
Coming to the Hanover Theater June 16th through 19th. Tickets available now at thehanovertheater.org.
Chris Thompson here, station manager at WCRN. I need salespeople. If you're retired or a stay-at-home mom looking to make a few extra dollars, this opportunity is perfect for you. Work part-time, set your own schedule. It's fun. We provide the training you need to succeed. The only thing better than listening to Howie Carr is selling Howie Carr. If you're outgoing, not afraid to learn new things, and would like to earn some extra money, call me at 508-870-5803, extension 222. Start making money selling radio.
WCRN is an equal opportunity employer.
Testimonials stream in daily describing the many benefits found with CBD Bionaturals. One benefit is improved sleep. During sleep, your immune system releases proteins called cytokines, needed to fight infections, inflammation, and stress. That's right, proteins you need to fight infections, inflammation, and stress just when you need it most. With 100% satisfaction guarantee.
You're listening to Conservatively Speaking on Full Service Radio 830 WCRN. Once again, here's your host, Mike Wade.
Well, actually, folks, it is not. All right, folks. Actually, it is not Mike Wade. It's Joe Mangiacotti sitting in for Mike Wade. He's back next Sunday morning at 7 o'clock for our Sunday morning talk block. Coming up at the top of the hour, Peter Blute for the Peter Blute Show will join us here, and he'll take it to 12 noon here in AM 830 WCRN. All right, reminding you, you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. What say you? All right, give us a call. There's a couple more things I want to touch before we wrap up Conservatively Speaking for this week, but let me go to the phones. New show, so technically you're good. Ken from Bolton. Hey, Ken. Welcome back.
Good morning again, Joe. And since the first topic was so hot, I didn't have a chance to do my Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame.
Yeah, right.
Knowing that you're going full 3 hours. Yeah. So
doing,
the Hall of
shame
Shame,
or fame first?
It's always shame for, I shouldn't say always, virtually always I start with shame. Yeah. Chester Bodine is for a Hall of Shame.
Oh, man.
And the Hall of Fame, believe it or not, San Francisco voters. Thank you.
64.
How
Actually,
often we get to nominate them for Hall of Fame?
62 or 63% voted to
Yeah,
oust.
it was over 60. Right.
Fantastic. I
Big
agree
news.
with you. Around a little golf clap for the voters of San Francisco.
There you go.
But you know the thing about this, Ken? San Francisco. I mean, they elected this Jamoke in the first place. They got him out of there. And in that, it's got to send a ripple effect to these other DAs. It has to. But you would think it would. But did you hear his speech? He got up there and he said that it was the billionaires on the other side who outspent his billionaires. And even at one point in his speech, he said that the voters were rightfully angry. Now, if you have a self-awareness enough to realize that they have a right to be upset with you because of your policies and lack of doing your job, like, why isn't that registering to the guy? He knows, he said they're rightfully upset. Well, if they're rightfully upset, shouldn't you self-examine yourself here? Did you catch, I mean, what are you thinking, dude?
Well, you're assuming that those from the left have some degree of contrition for their misacts. No.
No,
They
double
never
down,
apologize.
actually, Ken. They double down, don't they?
Exactly. This is a religion to them, Joe. They will never give it up until they're thoroughly defeated, period. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
That's the seriousness of what we have to deal with. But the primary reason I called Joe is to follow up on Richard's discussion in the 7 o'clock hour, because I thought it was brilliant, and he really was tying together a theme that we conservatives have to put into the face of our opponents time and time again. I may not be citing the right word. Did he describe the 12 amendments as enabling? I believe
he was saying that 1 through 12 were what's the term he used? 13, 14 were articles, he's saying, right? So that they can be changed by Congress. But 1 through 12 are amendments, actual amendments, and cannot be messed with. At least that's what I was understanding him to say. But he's look at
I don't remember
13,
the precise
say
word.
again.
I don't remember this. He used a precise word like 3 or 4 times. I thought it was enabling, but let's move past that. I did a little research after his call because I thought it was so instructive. And I wish he'd call as all.
External.
Say it
In my
again.
notes, he said external.
That's it. External. You got it. I knew it started with an E, and you got the right one. External. All right. So I did a little research on the history. So our Constitution was passed, and it's just 9 days away, the anniversary. June 21st, 1788. And as part of that whole process, and remember, we didn't actually have a Congress or a president at that time.
Right.
So we were in the process of creating a whole new government. And you had all of these representatives from different states. And George Mason insisted that, okay, I will approve this Constitution, provided that we have a Bill of Rights. And so the Constitution was passed, and then the process of creating a Bill of Rights followed in the following year, 1789. And it took 2.5 years for that process to fulfill itself.
Yeah.
And Richard was correct that there were 12. He stated, though, the implication that those 12 were passed. That's incorrect. Actually, 10 of the 12. So we always remember that the 10 Bill of Rights, correct?
Right.
And it is 10 because 2 of the 12 original ones did not pass. 10 did. And so when he describes it as external, and in effect, these are ones that cannot be reversed. That the part that he's saying cannot be reversed, I suspect he is absolutely correct. I haven't done more research, and I think I will, to just lock down. But that's the case. Well, let's assume that's the case. All of this talk of amending the Constitution to eliminate First Amendment, Second. You can't eliminate any of those.
Right.
Richard's absolutely correct.
Exactly.
You put it right in the face of the people who are so anti-gun. Excuse me? You can't do that. And if you try, you're blowing up the United States of America. And speak it as clearly as I just did.
Which is why when I see, these little rants that Sonny and Whoopi and all these, middle of the day talk show jamokes, you're like, you have no clue what you're talking about. You just don't get it. You just don't get. I get, okay, you want the ratings and you filled your audience with, the sycophants here. I get it, but you're discounted because you sound like a moron because you have no concept of what you're talking about and what you're saying can't be done. So let's agree that to leave the Second Amendment alone. Stop focusing. This is what the left does, right? They always have this discussion or argument of one variable, the gun, period. Meanwhile, there are dozens of other factors constantly playing into this. And this is the thing that, we got to talk about. What are the threads, right? They happen way too often, but not to the point that, it's a big study here. But there are some common threads, Ken, right? Male, right? These shooters are typically male. Then we find out that there's the mental issues, probably on some kind of prescription because both of them, right? Wasn't the Texas kid was on a medication, the Buffalo shooting kid was on a medication. So there's some threads here that are running through all of these. And maybe we should be examining those a little closer. Lay off the guns. The Second Amendment isn't going anywhere. There are more guns in this country than there are people in this country. You can't get them. The genie's out of the bottle, Ken. Focus on the problems. Again, put the responsibility onto the person and the act in which they did. Right? Did you catch the story yesterday or the day before of the teenager beaten to death? No guns involved, right? He was using one of those water gun, not the paintball gun, but a water gun that shot like water pods, something like that, right? And they didn't like it. The kids didn't like it. They didn't think it was a great joke, and they beat him to death. And by the way, it was 4 black kids who murdered a white kid, and it's not getting a lot of attention in the news. Do you think that is
we expect that?
A racial thing, meaning that because it's a black teenagers murdering a white teenager by just beating him to death. He died of blunt force trauma to the head. So that's out of the news. But my point being is you don't need to have a gun to be violent or to commit murder. More people are murdered with guns, with fists and knives than with guns in this country every year. So it's not.
The knife story, Joe.
Say again?
Joe, the knife story is pertinent, particularly in the UK.
Yeah.
There's a lot of knife murders in the UK because they aren't allowed to possess a gun. So they resort to other mechanisms because it is the person who commits the murder. It's not the instrument is just a means by which a person can carry out the murder.
Yeah. 2 things. Details on that story I was referencing so that I just need to pull up in front of me. 17-year-old Ohio boy found beaten to death outside of LeBron James founded high school after he drove around with his friends and shot this water gun at people. Ethan Liming, his body was found Thursday in a parking lot near the basketball courts. The school is I Promise School in Akron. And like I said, LeBron James, this is one of his projects donated and so forth. So Ethan, according to mom and family, he was everything, a good boy, smart, right? Loved life, loved living life, wanted to be friends with everybody. And she said, Ethan, he didn't see color. Now, I don't like that expression because everybody sees color, but I understand the meaning. Color doesn't matter to you. That's what that means. But when people say I don't see color, of course you do. How do you not see color? You know what they are, and you should recognize that. But that aside, so four pals ran into the group, 3 young males, a female, before the altercation, and it was supposed to be horseplay. But then the teenagers, according to people looking, were being teenagers until it took a turn, and the female looked on while the 3 black teenagers beat him to death. Not in the news, okay? Not in the news. And we know why. And that's horrible. That's horrible. I lost the second point I was going to say after that. But what else is on your mind?
Yeah, Joe, I wanted to get back to the Richards discussion to preempt what the left could do next in their arguments.
Okay.
So we tell them that you're trying to blow up the United States. And then what's going to be their retort? Well, I predict it's going to be, well, then we need a constitutional convention. Do you know what a constitutional convention does?
Yeah. Yeah. And when was the last time we had
it?
Get real.
Well, there's only been one.
That's my point. Right?
So let's lay down the rules, Joe, of what a constitutional convention means. When you hold a constitutional convention, it opens up the door for destroying our current Constitution. So if the left so hates the first, the second, the fourth, they hate most of what is our Constitution.
Except
then
when it
that
works
is
for
their
them,
reason.
Ken. Except when it works for them. Have
But
you
they
noticed
want
that?
to. Yeah, but they want to destroy. They hate what is in the Constitution, and particularly most of the Bill of Rights. Yeah. So their means of destroying the nation is through a constitutional convention. So people have to understand that there's 2 different words. Yeah. There's a constitutional convention, then there's convention of the states. And you ask 99% of the people on the street, they had no idea what the difference is. And yet they couldn't be farther from there's a massive difference between the 2. So, constitutional convention means you can effectively wipe out the entire Constitution and start all over. The equivalent of saying, okay, 1788 that I just described, we start it all over and we end up with a new nation. You can call it whatever you want. America, communist America, literally is what you could call it. A whole new nation.
It'd be America.
The past nation is history done. Whatever. Whereas a convention of the states is entirely different. Convention of the states, which is being pushed by conservatives, it says that the constitutional is sacrosanct. We are simply using one of the tools to add amendments to the current Constitution, meaning that one tool is through Congress. Well, guess what? We don't trust Congress anymore. There is another tool that was allowed by the Founding Fathers, is a convention of the states, where you have people gathering saying, okay, we want amendment number 27, 28, 29. It may include the term limits, because we know darn well that Congress is never going to term limit themselves. So the only means is through a convention of the states.
Right.
So we have to be informed. As soon as the left starts coming out with the arguments, we can knock them down very easily.
Great point. Great point. Let me ask you, though, on this. Do you think that we as a nation and we as the people who are frustrated with the direction the country's gone in could coordinate this? This would be a massive education policy or education campaign. And then to be able to make it happen. I mean, we're talking, this isn't, 13 colonies in the beginning days. And could you imagine being around in those days while we were forming the government, and figuring this all out? It must have been fascinating. But the point is, could we pull this off today, Ken? Can we get that many people in the country to act, right? Because most people kind of are frustrated, maybe pissed off, but how much action does that convert to?
Joe, this will take a long time, at least 5-10 years, but let me give you a headline of hope. For those who go to the Bongino report, top story, Biden slips underwater in deep blue Massachusetts for the first time. Were you aware of this?
Biden went underwater in Massachusetts.
Biden slipped. So if you literally go to the Bongino report under top stories, Biden slips underwater in deep blue Massachusetts for the first time. So what it's describing is the civics poll. That's CIVIQ. They run one for every single state. As of a week ago, there were only 3 states in the entire country for which the approval rating of Biden was higher than the disapproval.
In Massachusetts,
the only other 2
one of
states
them.
besides
Now that flip
Massachusetts
you
were Hawaii and Vermont. Well, guess what? Massachusetts is no longer on that list.
Which
Now,
I'm surprised
it's
we held
easy.
out so long, because if you break it down, Trump did a lot better in this state than people thought he was going to do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
it was
Central
30-something, low 30s.
Massachusetts, Trump did well in Central Mass. Not Worcester.
I'm talking the whole state.
Yeah, but I'm saying there were a lot of Trump supporters in this state. I know he didn't take the state, but he had a lot of support in this state. It didn't matter in the electoral college and all that. But once you get out of Worcester, Boston, Springfield, Bedford, like in the suburban part of Massachusetts, Trump had a lot of support in Massachusetts. You can look
the
at the
support
numbers.
he has. Right, yeah, but the support he has is strong, but the percentages are low because guess what? The Democrat support in this state is a mile wide, and it isn't even an inch thick. Maura Healey is very beatable. But let me go back to the story, which is very interesting, because right now they're saying it's 44 disapprove, 43 approve Biden. But the top of the story is doesn't give you the same numbers. And you look at the chart and you say, well, wait a minute. This is from January 2021 to now. So apparently they're sort of averaging over time. In other words, it isn't the snapshot of today, because at the top of the article, it says 55% of Massachusetts residents disapprove of Biden, 34% approve. Well, wait a minute. That's a 21% difference against them. So what's with the 44-43? So I think the 44-43 is a trailing figure. I think there's an overwhelming surge of disapproval for Biden in this state. And all it takes is a strong leadership to speak out on the conservative issues. I mean, there's 2 issues right now that are easy to run on in this state, Joe. Gas prices. Now, who has led on gas prices in the state in the past? Who actually had a position?
Ran for governor too. He was a state rep. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? Tell me his name. It's
Why are you drawing a blank, Joe? It's a current governor candidate, Jeff Deal. So why isn't Jeff Deal? Well, maybe he doesn't have a microphone, but Jeff Deal is just—he can run on that what he passed in 2014. He was a leader on that. And what's the other big issue in the state? Driver's licenses. Illegal immigrants.
That is, I just blows my mind that how they twist that and justify it. They are literally a criminal, and that's not name calling. They're a criminal. They illegally entered the country. They're here illegally, and you're going to give them a legal document that legitimizes their presence here when they're not supposed to be here. And I'm not being mean and cruel and bigoted. I'm just saying, look, I agree 100% that we've got, first of all, before anything happens with discussion about immigration, is finish the wall, secure the border, and then at the same time create, even if we have versions of it, but create a streamlined method for citizenship, but allow people who want, and they're already doing it, right? People come over the border every day to go to work and go back at night. So if these people can come up with thousands of dollars for coyotes, can take an airplane, come into the country, our immigration department will meet you, prove who you are, prove that you don't, you're not a criminal, you're not part of a cartel, etc. You know what I'm saying, all that, and that you are in fact this person, and we welcome you in the country, and you've got to prove that you have enough money to rent an apartment or have a sponsor, but you're not going to be a burden to the people born here. Because what's happening is a child who's born today is already in debt, Ken. They already have a debt over their head for, first of all, our fiscal debt, our country's debt. But now they're saying that somebody's being born in a faraway land is going to eventually come here, enter the country illegally, and then your tax money as you grow up and go to work has to be allocated to that person. This is so messed up. That's not fair what we're doing to our own American children, our citizens that are born. And I know people are going to say that, no, understand what I'm saying. Come to the country. Just do it as who you are, legally, the right way. We got to make it easy for them to be able to come here and work. But you see what I said? Come here and work, not come here and just simply be taken care of by the taxpayers. Enough of that. So
Joe,
this license thing blows my mind. And for any of you legislators who supported it, you're wrong. You're dead wrong on this. And I know they try to justify it about, legally letting them drive and so forth. They've been driving anyway. And we didn't. And if we had enforced the laws, Ken, when an officer pulls somebody over and they don't have a license, if that happens to you and me, we're getting arrested. We're getting arrested. Now we might get cut a break because we can show our license, but you see what I'm saying? It's a dual justice system going on.
It's very simple for campaign ads, Joe. So very simple. Yeah. Massachusetts Democrats treat illegal immigrants as first-class residents and treat citizens as second class.
There you go. Concise,
so
to
simple.
The point. Bumper sticker. Yeah, you got it. I get it.
Bingo.
I get it. Yeah, plenty to run on. That's true. Yeah, I got it. All right.
And
anything else, Ken?
Well, just real quick. If you're a state rep or state Senate candidate in this state, Republican side, you just hammer those two issues straight through to November 8th, and you're going to be stunned at how many win. The so-called experts are going to have their heads spinning.
Yeah. Good point. All right, Ken, thanks for the call. Always good. And I liked your Hall of Shame and Fame. Perfect. You nailed it this week. Is he gone? All right, Ken, take care. All right, folks, we're actually coming up to the end of Conservatively Speaking for this week's edition. Mike Wade will be back next Sunday. Everything's good there. Peter Blut's coming up after the break for the Peter Blut Show. Take you to 12 noon. There were a couple other things can't get to, but I'm back tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, of course, for the Joe Mangiacotti Show Monday edition. What else? Oh, by the way, NPR, nothing on the Kavanaugh attempted murder case, right? They had a couple vague mentions, very deep in it. This is what I'm saying. You're talking about somebody who went out to murder and apparently torture. I mean, if your kit includes zip ties and duct tape and screwdrivers and pliers and things like that, you're not doing house projects. I mean, that's some real nasty plans that you have on the drawing board there, and not getting the coverage that it should be getting. The intention that they had to do that he had to do to adjust this is crazy. The other thing, too, before you're going to go, Idaho police, they arrested dozens of people on this suspicion of conspiracy to riot at a Pride event. Again, this is June, and it's Pride Month. So dozens of masked men suspected of being tied to white nationalist group were arrested right near the Pride event in Ohio. They were found packed into a U-Haul truck. I'll go over more on this in tomorrow's show. Join me at 1 o'clock tomorrow. But that wraps it up, folks. Thank you for joining us here on Sunday mornings on AM 830 WCRN. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and that will do it for me. Enjoy the rest of this beautiful Sunday, folks. Joe out.